Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey!
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Our great country must have border security. We don't want people coming in that aren't supposed to be here. We want people to come in through a legal process. It's very dangerous out there. Drugs are pouring in, human trafficking, so many different problems, including gangs like MS-13. We don't want them in the United States. We don't want them in our country. The only thing that's going to stop that is great border security with a wall or a slat fence or whatever you want to call it. But we need a great barrier. And if we don't have it, it's never going to work. Last night, the House of Representatives passed this very important bill, 217 to 185. Some people were surprised by the number. I wasn't, because everybody wants to see our border protected. Now it's up to the Senate, and it's really up to the Democrats, because we need their votes. There's no way it can pass without their votes. We're going to have a shutdown. There's nothing we can do about that, because we need the Democrats to give us their votes. Call it a Democrat shutdown, call it whatever you want, but we need their help to get this approved. So Democrats, we have a wonderful list of things that we need to keep our country safe. Let's get out, let's work together, let's be bipartisan, and let's get it done. The shutdown hopefully will not last long. Thank you very much.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
That was his Christmas message. It's just, wow. Merry freaking Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year, except if you're a federal worker or someone on this planet. Donald Trump is still the president, right? So, but you know what's cool about this 2019? 2019 is going to be lit. I mean, this is going to be like tomorrow the Democrats take over the House. Adam Schiff becomes the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Gerald Nadler becomes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Maxine Waters becomes the chairman of the Oversight Committee. And you know what's really cool? They have subpoena power as of tomorrow. Woohoo! I can't wait. Now, of course, there are some Democrats who would like to skip 2019 altogether and go, woo, right into 2020. Okay, Elizabeth Warren, I get it, but that's not going to happen. I'm not missing 2019. 2019 is going to be the year of the questions being answered for us.
You've got Russia.
This year. This year, you've got it all. And I swear to God, this is like a freaking Merry Christmas. We're shutting down the government. It could be a very long shutdown. Happy freaking holidays. Who needs a ball drop? He does. He does. I don't know if you saw this story. This was a really weird story that I didn't even participate in on the Twitter because it was so weird that I just didn't say it. But Stratcom and the Air Force Base in Minot, North Dakota, where we keep our nuclear missiles, the ones in the silos in the ground. Of course, we have nuclear missiles on airplanes, and we have nuclear missiles on submarines, right? It's the triad, which Donald Trump knows nothing about. Remember that? Remember that? Yes. Well, this was really weird because the Air Force Base in Minot and Stratcom was tweeting out something about a ball drop is fine, but we can drop something bigger. Happy freaking New Year. It was very freaking creepy. Very, very, very creepy. We got enough balls dropping. We don't need anything. We don't need nothing dropping. Don't drop nothing. Don't drop nothing. But it was just amazing. Trump skipped his own festival of ass kissing at Mar-a-Lago so he could stay in the White House and watch TV 24/7, which is what he did. Now he's bitching about the Democrats. You know, he hasn't called anybody. You understand that, right? What's going on here between Trump's tweeting? Oh, God, the amount of lies. I mean, thumbs do lie. I did not know that. I just thought that they were posable. But they also apparently lie like dogs. It's unbelievable how much he lies. But, you know, he was sitting there, he was watching television, he was tweeting, And he never once picked up a phone and called anybody. He didn't call Chuck Schumer. He didn't call Nancy Pelosi. And he's just like bitching about they went on vacation. Yes, that's because there was a vote. Let's just rewind for a brief moment back to the bad old year of 2018, which sucked. If you were a living, breathing thing, it was just a year of disaster. Couldn't eat, you couldn't eat romaine. No romaine. Now you can only eat romaine from California. Apparently you got to just wash the ashes off of it or something. I mean, places burned and, Puerto Rico. And I mean, this was just such that was such a freaky year of fracas. It was a freaky fracas. But this president was given the opportunity to keep the government open ahead of Christmas time. The Senate unanimously voted for a bill to fund the government, bless you, to fund the government. And Donald Trump, after he had a meeting and told Chuck Schumer he would be very proud, I'll be very proud to shut the government down. Screw you, Chuck. I won't even blame you. You remember all that? Remember everything that happened there? I want to shut down. I want to shut down. I will do it.
The one thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said it.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am proud, and I'll tell you what,
disagree.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So God. I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down. And I'm going to shut it down for border security.
But we believe you shouldn't shut it down.
Thank you very much, everybody. What I say is what I say. Believe me.
And now he's all over the place. It's Nancy Pelosi. You know what he's doing, okay? He's trying to divide the Democrats right off the bat. That's what he's doing. He's trying to get Chuck Schumer to serve up Nancy Pelosi. He's trying to get the Senate Democrats to disagree with the House Democrats. And you know what his problem is? His problem is that we had given him $25 billion. Does everybody remember this? I know a lot of crap and distractions in 2018, a lot of lies, a lot. But there was a bill that was voted out of the Senate, $25 billion. But in exchange, comprehensive immigration reform, and the Dreamers would become naturalized citizens. The Dreamers would be put on a path to citizenship. You could not take that away from them. And Trump said no to the $25 billion. Then before Christmas, there was a unanimous Senate vote that gave him, a chance to keep the government open, and they would fund everything till February 8th, and then they would come back and they would figure it all out, just so that people didn't have to go without paychecks over the Christmas holiday. And he said, F no. Okay, then before that, in 2013, we had comprehensive immigration reform. In 2006, we had comprehensive immigration reform. And the freaking Republicans in the House wouldn't take it up. So shut up already. My God, man, this is so unbelievable. So his message to America for Christmas, it's a disgrace what's happening in our country. But other than that, I wish you, everybody, a Merry Christmas. And they say Democrats have a war on Christmas. What's preferable, saying Happy Holidays or his way? Merry Christmas, the American dream is dead. I mean, really, this was just the sickest thing. And now Lindsey Graham is on the TV. All right, Lindsey Graham says, I'm asking you, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm asking you to pay for the freaking wall. What happened to Mexico? What happened?
I'm not asking Mexico to pay for it. I'm asking the American people to pay for it. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, we'll see how the NAFTA deal, I think he'll claim that Mexico is paying more under the new NAFTA deal, but I'm not talking about what he said back during the campaign. I'm talking about what we can do now.
Oh, you know what? Bite me. I just, can you believe that? Can you freaking believe that? Yeah, I'm not asking Mexico to pay for the wall. I'm asking you. Yeah, well, I know. Because I'm not listening to what he said. I'm thinking about what we can do. And it's not possible for him to keep his promise, but I'm still licking his butt. Oh my God, this is so unbelievable. And then over the vacation, he managed to get himself to Iraq. Although the speech he gave to our soldiers, I think he thought he landed in Arizona or West Virginia again. Because this man went there and talked about the freaking wall to people who are in a war zone. He talked about the wall. He talked about billions for the military, and that he thinks that these guys are mercenaries. I swear to God, he thinks that he's dealing with Eric Prince's mercenary company, because he told our troops, our guys, that they were suckers. He literally told them that. He literally said, you're not going to be suckers anymore. As if every limb that they lost, every tour that they did, they had done for the wrong president, and they were all suckers.
I think that a lot of people are going to come around to my way of thinking. It's not fair when when the burden is all on us, the United States. We're building now, as you folks know, you're seeing new equipment coming in for the first time in many years. $716 billion and $700 billion the last 2 years, far more than you ever got. And now we're buying all beautiful new fighter jets, and we're building new ships. We're doing a lot of new things, even the equipment for your men and women. But it's time for us to start using our head. We don't want to be taken advantage anymore by countries that use us and use our incredible military to protect them. They don't pay for it, and they're going to have to. Now, if you look at what happened in Syria, President Erdogan stepped up. He says he wants to knock out ISIS. We say whatever's left, it's just the remnants of ISIS.
Oh, my God.
And Saudi Arabia just came out and said they're going to pay for some economic development, which is great. That means we don't have to pay. But we may help at some point. We may go back and help. We can do a lot of things with our companies and others where they go out and they do a great job.
He's a very sick man. He is a very sick man. Erdogan's going to kill the Kurds, okay? I thought that they were going to kill them over Christmas vacation. I really did. And then he signed MAGA hats and attacked Democrats and pushed for his wall. He did everything except lead these troops in chants of lock her up. He thinks it's a campaign. He doesn't understand that these people are literally risking their lives. He lied to them and told them that he was the first person to raise their pay in 10 years. That's a lie. He's also denying the federal workers, who are terrified that they're not getting paid, that they won't be able to pay their mortgages. One guy said he couldn't even buy a headstone for his wife's grave because he's a federal employee. And he's telling them he's freezing their pay raise even if they do go back to work. They're not getting a pay raise. I mean, this is crazy.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Well, first of all, at ease. Let's have a good time.
What is this, a Star
Let's have
is
a
Born?
good time. The other reason I'm here today is to personally thank you and every service member throughout this region for the near elimination of the ISIS territorial caliphate in Iraq and in Syria. 2 years ago, when I became president, they were a very dominant group. They were very dominant.
He likes that
Today,
word.
they're not so dominant anymore. America shouldn't be doing the fighting for every nation on earth, not being reimbursed in many cases at all. If they want us to do the fighting, they also have to pay a price. And sometimes that's also a monetary price. So we're not the suckers of the world.
Oh, my God.
We're no longer the suckers, folks. and people aren't looking at us as suckers. And I love you folks because most of you are nodding your head this way.
Oh my God. That America shouldn't be doing the fighting for every nation. We invaded Iraq, okay? That is just a fact. We did this. It was the Pottery Barn rule, remember? Colin Powell with his little anthrax thing at the United... Remember that? Oh, but it's the Pottery Barn. You break it, you own it, right? We did this. And there was a coalition of the will, and they're still there. There's a coalition of other countries' troops. There's 5,200 troops in Iraq, just so you know. An idiot boy managed to expose the faces of SEAL Team 5. 5,200 wasn't good enough for him. He had to go find SEAL Team 5 and take a photo with them so that everybody now knows where the highly skilled, intelligence-trained, super, valuable to the enemy troops are. I mean, this man is off the hook, okay? And talking to our troops like that, saying, oh, you are sucker, and ignoring the entire fact that America invaded this nation, this unarmed nation. I mean, did he think he was in West Virginia? Did he think that he was at a campaign rally? Holy crap. And then he goes on and he tells them, sometimes, he said, America shouldn't be doing the fighting for every nation on earth, not being reimbursed in many cases at all. If they want us to do the fighting, they also have to pay a price. Does he think that American volunteer soldiers are a hit squad? I mean, what is his deal? It's like you only endanger your lives for Donald Trump and only if Donald Trump gets top dollar? What is that? What is that? And then he lied to them. He told them that they were that they hadn't gotten a pay raise in more than 10 years, and I got you a big one. That's totally false. But you put that together with, we don't have a coalition of allies in there. We don't have, other people's troops wounded. We didn't see any deaths from the Australians or from, the British. Nobody died from other countries. I mean, this is so, and it's like he says this, and to break up the alliance. It's like he says this purposely so that the United States seems like it doesn't appreciate the death and the ultimate sacrifice that other nations have made. Obviously, at this point, we need a Marshall Plan for Iraq. We need a Marshall Plan for Central America. You want to stop all this? You want to, put in it? Then you actually do what we know works after great wars like World War II, and you do a Marshall Plan. But hey, there's no money in it for him until maybe he's a civilian. So let's make him one. That was his first visit to an active combat zone. But every place he goes, he turns it into an active combat zone. And I'm so tired of being the sucker fighting in his combat zone that he created. I mean, it's just, he is literally, Mitt Romney wrote an op-ed, not that, don't forget who Mitt Romney is, okay? Don't forget.
Corporations are people, my friend.
Remember him. But something tells me Romney wants to be president again. And so Romney wrote this ridiculous op-ed about how he had high hopes for Donald Trump. He had high hopes for Donald Trump. He thought he would rise to the mantle. He would rise to the occasion. Somehow a 71-year-old man would change. That's like hoping Mitt Romney would not be a Mormon and start downing, pints of whatever. That's never going to happen, okay? It's never going to happen. Mitt Romney, the reason why Mitt Romney isn't the president of the United States is because Mitt Romney was caught on tape saying, screw the 47%. That's the middle class, okay? Romney is Donald Trump with a better suit. And the two of them are going after each other. Yay! Bring it on. Let's do this. See, What Donald Trump was spending his Christmas vacation trying to accomplish is exactly what Mitt Romney accomplished with his op-ed. Donald Trump is trying to break in half the Democratic Party. He's trying to separate the leadership in the Senate from the leadership in the House. This is why he's attacking Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has done nothing to you. Nancy Pelosi has 2 bills that she's going to introduce tomorrow when we get sworn in as the majority, and she will show you that the government can be funded. These people do not have to work without paychecks. Also, there's a lawsuit. The federal workers, see, this goes back to that ridiculous Supreme Court decision, that last one, the Janus decision before Kennedy resigned and gave us the likes of Kavanaugh. That Janus decision was whether or not public sector workers, all these people you are totally unaware of, who now, when they're not getting paid, have a cascade effect on our entire economy. For instance, if you live in a place where there are a lot of government workers, let's say you live near a national park, or let's say you live in Northern Virginia, or let's say you live in a place where there are a lot of, government workers who work at, the Pentagon, or who work at the FBI, or who work, well, your store, they're not shopping in. It has a cascade effect, okay? And I swear to you, she's saying, let's just open the government and stop the bleeding here, and we'll give you $1.3 billion, which you can use for border security, real border security, but not for your stupid 3rd century freaking Ming Dynasty wall. That ain't gonna ever happen. It's not gonna happen in 2018. It's not gonna happen in 2019. It's not gonna happen in 2020. It's never gonna happen. Lindsey Graham is there, let's pay for the wall. I'm asking you. I'm not asking Mexico anymore. I'm asking you. Mary Scanlon, she's a representative from Pennsylvania. You know what? She was very smart. She put up a video on Twitter telling you what $5 billion could pay for. A lot.
$5 billion would cover the cost of repairing Puerto Rico's power grid. $5 billion would cover medically assisted opioid addiction treatment for over 750,000 people. $5 billion would cover federal funding for Planned Parenthood for a decade. $5 billion would cover the cost of repairing Flint's water system 90 times over.
90 times.
$5 billion would cover the salaries of school nurses for 2 years. $5 billion would cover Medicare prescription deductibles for 12.3 million seniors living in poverty. $5 billion would cover the cost to replace paperless voting machines all across this country 12 times.
Wow.
And to really bring it home for those of us who live in southeastern Pennsylvania, $5 billion would cover the cost of repairs for all of Philadelphia's public schools. Or $5 billion would cover the backlog in repairs for SEPTA's public transportation. So let's think about this. Where are our priorities?
$5 billion would pay for school repairs in all of Pennsylvania, in all of southern Pennsylvania, 12 times over. It would pay for 12.3 seniors co-pays on prescription drugs. Oh, my God. And your idiot president, today, he decided to do an hour and a half's worth of televised bullcrap. Really, a cabinet meeting. And he's telling $5 billion is nothing. It's nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, would you accept anything less than $2.5 billion?
No, not 2.5. No, we're asking for 5.6. And, somebody said 2.5. No, look. This is national security we're talking about, just like we talk about the military, just like we're talking about Syria or Afghanistan or all these different places. I mean, we spend in Afghanistan more in 1 month than what we're talking about for the wall. Think of that. Okay, that's another way. We spend in Afghanistan more money than most countries spend, except a few.
Except a few.
Okay, it's ridiculous.
They're called allies.
What I'm talking about is is the $5.6 billion that the House approved. And I have to tell you, the House was very impressive. They stepped up and they went in and they approved. And I'm not holding Nancy to this, but she said, you'll never get the Republicans to vote for it. I never saw anything so beautiful in my life. That spurred them on. The spirit they had. And I'd like Mitt Romney to join in that spirit because, we're doing some great things. We don't need another Democrat. And you know what? I want the Democrats to join in it too. The $5.6 billion is such a small number.
Oh my
Literally,
God.
it's a month. It's 1 month in Afghanistan, and we're talking about national security. This isn't just a border. This is national security. This is health and wellness. This is everything.
It is not anything. Immigration is way down. It's not health and wellness. When you say $5 billion could pay for 12.3 senior citizens co-pays on their prescription drugs, that's national security for those senior citizens, okay? I mean, I'm looking at, co-pays now for drugs that I've never seen in my life, okay? Howard's got, just finally got diagnosed. He's been falling apart, my old man. He just went from like 60 years old to 85. And he's got something called axial psoriatic arthritis. And so they're trying him on, the drugs that you see on the TV that I laugh about. Yeah, well, now those commercials are must pay attention to commercials for us. I mean, I used to make fun of all the names of the drugs, the Cosentyx and the Xeljanz and the Humiras, and who's naming the... Yeah, well, he needs Humira, okay? And it's an injectable, and guess how much the copay is for 6 shots of it? 6. $1,700 is the copay, and he's on Medicare. So when you tell me that $5 billion could help people like my family pay for that $1,700 for 6 shots that he has to give himself, you don't even get a doctor's visit. You have to sit there and stab yourself in the thigh. Then all of a sudden, $5 billion matters. An idiot boy is sitting there saying he wants to spend it on a 3rd century wall. Well, I got news for him. That ain't never going to happen. And I feel so bad for these federal workers. You're talking about over 800,000 people in our country who don't know if they're going to be able to buy groceries, who don't know how they're going to pay for their co-pays, who don't know how they're going to pay for food, these are not people that live in the lap of luxury. These are federal workers. What do they make, like 50,000, 52,000? Do you know what I mean? They're just getting by. They live paycheck to paycheck, and he's literally holding them hostage, holding the DACA kids hostage, because he has decided that a few immigrants from Honduras and Guatemala are some wild national security threat a la ISIS. This is crazy. The federal, and then he's sitting there saying, "Oh, I hear from a lot of federal workers who are like, yeah, hold out, hold us hostage, don't pay us until you get that wall." And Twitter lights up, and they're like, "F your wall. We need to eat over here. We clean." And you know what they posted this? Oh my God, they posted this weird ass letter. The federal government posted a letter telling the federal workers that they should hire, I swear to God, personal attorneys, or call their personal attorney, as if they're so wealthy that they got a personal attorney on retainer. Most of us are doing $49, contractors agreements on LegalZoom. No, they're saying call your personal attorney, and have your personal attorney write out a letter to your landlord saying that, you are temporarily unemployed, or you're temporarily on furlough and you're not going to get paid, and see if you can't negotiate with them. And the thing that you should offer them in lieu of the cash payment for your mortgage or whatever is you should paint or clean the bathroom for them.
Connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I can't tell you when the government's going to be open. I can tell you it's not going to be open until we have a wall, a fence, whatever they'd like to call it. I'll call it whatever they want. But it's all the same thing. It's a barrier from people pouring into our country from drugs.
Brief CNN fact check here on a border wall stopping drugs into the U.S. Both the DEA and Homeland Security officials say drugs mostly enter through legal ports of entry, so it's doubtful a border wall would have a major impact on drug flow. But the president not only insists the wall is needed, he added this.
Yesterday, I gave out 115 miles worth of wall.
Oh, my God.
115 miles in Texas.
You gave it.
And it's going to be built, hopefully rapidly. I'm going there at the end of January for the start of construction. That's a big stretch because we're talking about 500 to 550 miles total. It's a 2,000-mile border, but much of it has mountains and region where you can't get across. So we're looking at between 500 and 550. So we gave out 115 yesterday, and we gave it out at a great price.
Let's get straight to CNN's White House correspondent, Abby Phillip. Abby, do you have any more information from anyone at the White House about what the president is talking about when he talks about the great price that he got for 115 miles of new border wall that he's planning to visit next month?
Dana, we've been asking the White House and we haven't heard anything at all about what he's referring to. I mean, we should start by saying that usually this is not how that would work, that if there was a contract being given out to build border wall, there would be a bidding process. It's a government-run process. It's usually not something that the president just signs off on like he might do if he were running his private business.
Yeah, there is no give of 115-mile. This man just and this is the huge problem. You know, Donald Trump sat in a room with the senators a long time ago. I remember Dianne Feinstein said, why don't we just do a clean DACA bill, right? And he said, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And then Mark Meadows with the idiot boy was sitting there going, whoa. I don't think you know what you're agreeing to here. So I don't think you understand how this really works. You know, he still doesn't understand how any of this works. This is not how it works. This is not how any of this works. He didn't give anybody anything, and he's still saying it today. Today he sat there in a cabinet meeting, and nobody bothers to educate him or elucidate him or tell him, Mr. President, no one is building a wall. It has not started. There is no money for it. Plus, you didn't spend the money from last year that you have for border security. And you really ought to spend that money. And he insists that, oh, well, don't say we haven't spent the money. I just haven't paid the contractors yet. What the? No wall is being built. Just be very clear about it. But this man is such a con man. He is such an amoral liar that he actually keeps on. This is today. This happened today. Today is January 2nd, 2019 over here. And he said it again.
Well, I'd rather not say it. Could we do it for a little bit less? It's so insignificant compared to what we're talking about. You know, I've heard numbers as high as $275 billion we lose on illegal immigration. And here you have a wall where you're talking about to complete, because, again, a lot has already been done. You know, we've been getting money in. Somebody said that we didn't spend the money. Well, we have spent it, but we don't pay contractors before they finish the job. That's one of the other things that Pat and I sort of instituted. No. We like to have people do the work. So if we're building a wall, we're paying as they build it. We pay it when it's finished. So they do a good job. This way, if they don't do a good job, we don't pay them.
Oh, my God. That is so Donald Trump. He stiffs every. But I got to tell you, there are no contractors building a wall. There are no contractors. And if he had spent or allocated, if he knew that word, he would have used it, but he doesn't know that word. If he had allocated money to contractors to build a wall, he would be in violation of the law. Why? And how do we know this? Because Congress, when they gave him the money last year, prohibited one nickel from being spent on building a stupid 3rd century Ming Dynasty wall. No one's building a medieval wall. That is not happening. Congress specifically gave money for border security and said no wall. So he's sitting there today, again today. Oh, well, I hear people saying that we didn't spend the money from last. Oh, no. We spent it. We just didn't. We didn't write the checks yet because if the contractors do a crummy job, we're not paying them. Who would ever contract with him ever, ever, ever again? This is a man who has stiffed every worker that's ever worked for his private company, from masonry guys to window installers to painters to you name it. He doesn't pay. I mean, this is just so sick. It's so crazy. I'm telling you, this year we're going to get it. We're going to get even. We're going to get some light shown on this man, on this man's company, on this man's foundation, on this man's presidency, on this man's cheating, on this man's voter suppression efforts, on this man's collusion. Oh, yes, his collusion, his friends, his dirty tricksters, everybody that helped this man bamboozle an entire nation, propagandize an entire nation. And, honest to God, you know what else he did on Christmas Day? Because a lot of people were saying, well, it was there wasn't a lot of news during the Christmas vacation. Are you freaking kidding me? There was, if you read a newspaper. On Christmas Eve, in El Paso, Donald Trump ordered ICE to drop off immigrants who had made it into the United States at a local bus station without alerting any of the shelters. I guess he was hoping that some of these people would be so hungry and cold that they would commit crime. Well, that didn't happen. Instead, Beto O'Rourke was in El Paso because that's where he lives. And he saw that the local shelters were scrambling to try and take in the people who Donald Trump on Christmas Eve, I mean, I swear to God, this was like a really bad Christmas movie. It was like the worst. It was like Oliver meets It's a Wonderful Life, okay? And he was, it was just so sick. And he dropped off like 400 people at a bus station without alerting the local shelters, who, if given a heads up, would have taken in these 200 that arrived on Sunday and the 200 that arrived on Monday. By Wednesday, the number was over 800, according to Beto O'Rourke, who was tweeting this stuff out. There is a place there called Annunciation House. It is a local shelter, and it has taken in thousands of migrants. It has many locations across El Paso, but nobody notified them, and so they were caught unprepared. They didn't have enough food, they didn't have enough blankets, they didn't have transportation, and that's because the Office of Emergency Management was not notified. The city of El Paso was not notified. ICE usually gives 24 hours notice when they're going to release a whole bunch of migrants who have been screened. And they didn't do it on purpose. Now, the shelters are at capacity, but there are plenty of volunteers and workers who are usually able to find temporary housing if they're given enough notice. The El Paso sector of the Border Patrol, of the U.S. Border Patrol, the agency that first takes in migrants when they arrive in the United States between the ports of entry, said the public information offices would not be available because of the government shutdown. And so there was no communication between Border Patrol and the city. This is a man who keeps talking about national security. This is a man who keeps talking about, we don't want this here. We don't want people with lots of problems. And what does he do? He takes people who are very vulnerable and he throws them in the middle of a bus station on Christmas Eve. It's 40 degrees there. It was in the 40s Monday night. It was cold. And turns his back on all of them with not a nickel in their pocket, some of them with babies and children, and no crime happens. No crime. I guess he was hoping for something really, really horrible to happen, but it didn't. It didn't. Instead, the people of El Paso, who are very migrant friendly, they are a border community, they're very open to receiving more migrants. They went into like double duty, and they went and they found all kinds of donations. They found public donation. They found money. They found food. They found new clothing. They found people sitting at the bus station without food. They found them sitting there without water. They found them sitting there without any blankets. They even found stuffed animals for the kids. They went to Sam's Club. They bought a whole bunch of food. They said it wasn't enough. That's, a man named Javier Grajeda, who lives in El Paso. He said, we had to go get a bunch of dollar burgers from McDonald's. He's an oil field engineer who works in Midland, Texas. I used to live in Odessa. That's a twin city. He works in Midland, and so he said, I might be late for my Christmas Eve dinner, but I just don't care. I can't turn my back on my community. It's going to be cold, he said. It's 40 degrees, and there's not enough blankets. He said, we bought a few blankets, but it wasn't enough. This was not right to do this on such short notice. There are volunteers, but they just need time. They need time to act. They need time to go get the supplies. This is what Donald Trump did on Christmas Eve. And now he's sitting there saying it's a matter of health. You know what? You had 2 kids already die in our custody. You had Kellyanne Conway on the TV, making up crap about, it's okay that they died. It's not our fault that they died. I mean, this is the sickest freaking Christmas I have ever experienced as an American. As an American. She's defending. Donald Trump tweeted out that, these kids, they die because of their parents. It's their parents' fault that they die. I told you the story of Jacqueline. Jacqueline was perfectly healthy. Jacqueline did not walk through Mexico. They were on a bus. They paid for somebody to take them through Central America into Mexico to the border. She was fine. I still think that they gave her contaminated, non-potable water and she died. I don't know yet, though. But she's defending the president, saying these kids deserved to die. It was their own fault.
That was President Trump's first comment on the deaths of those 2 children at the border, explicitly saying Democratic lawmakers are culpable in those children dying. Is that something you want to defend this morning?
Dana, the president's press secretary and incoming acting chief of staff had already weighed in publicly about these tragic deaths, and it is a tragedy. I've discussed them directly with the president, and I requested and received a briefing from CPB about both Jacqueline and Felipe's deaths. Any death of a child, any death of anyone is an utter tragedy. I think the president's point is an important one, which is that he's stayed in Washington to negotiate border security and to get funding for DHS and ICE and CPB, and of course enhanced border security, which Democrats, until he took over as president, were all in favor of. And we are allowing these people to take their children on a perilous journey without correcting the falsities. They're being promised something that people can simply not deliver upon.
Kellyanne, I want to talk about
to subject these children to these perilous journeys.
I want to talk about that policy in a minute. But the idea is that the president's aides, now you're one of them, have said that they have empathy for the deaths of children who are coming across the border with their parents. But the president hasn't. The only thing he has said is something that is very political and, frankly, misleading with regard to Democrats being culpable for the deaths of children.
Dana, the president would like the Democrats to be in 2019 who they've been in 2006 with the Secure Fences Act. Earlier this summer, in fact, dozens of Democrats voted for DHS funding. In a certain committee, 10 Democrats voted to approve enhanced border security funding. Where are they now? And what the point he's making is that our DHS and CPB, Customs and Border Patrol statistics, show that, unlike in the past, where the vast majority of those coming over the border illegally were single males and were coming from Mexico, they're coming from the Northern Triangle countries now, and they're coming as families, or they're coming as unaccompanied minors, as you know, unaccompanied children. We simply cannot absorb all that, and unfortunately, and very tragically, it does result in some death.
It does result in some death, everybody. It results in some death. You know what? You don't put people outside in a concrete parking lot at a bus station when it's 40 degrees without food, water, blankets, or clothes, and then say, well, of course they're going to die. I mean, you know, and there's going to be some deaths, but we're not responsible. The Democrats are responsible. And then there were other people that said the parents are responsible and the children themselves are responsible. And everybody's responsible except for the man who puts people on cold concrete floors without food or clothing or water and can't alert the city that they're going to do this because he is presiding over a Christmas government shutdown, and there's nobody in the communications office of Border Patrol. And these same people are working without pay.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Today, corruption is poisoning our democracy. Politicians look the other way while big insurance companies deny patients life-saving coverage, while big banks rip off consumers, and while big oil companies destroy this planet. Our government's supposed to work for all of us, but instead, it has become a tool for the wealthy and well-connected. The whole scam is propped up by an echo chamber of fear and hate, designed to distract and divide us. People who will do or say anything to hang on to power point the finger at anyone who looks, thinks, prays, or loves differently than they do.
Build that wall.
But this dark path doesn't have to be our future. We can make our democracy work for all of us. We can make our economy work for all of us. We can rebuild America's middle class, but this time we gotta build it for everyone. No matter where you live in America, and no matter where your family came from in the world, you deserve a path to opportunity. Because no matter what our differences, most of us want the same thing: to be able to work hard, play by the same set of rules, and take care of the people we love. That's the America I'm fighting for. And that's why today I'm launching an exploratory committee for president. But the outcome of this election will depend on you. This is what democracy looks like. In the last 2 years, millions of people have done more than they ever thought they would to protect the promise of America. And here's what we learned. If we organize together, if we fight together, if we persist together, we can win. We can, and we will.
What do you think? What do you think, everybody? She's the first one to announce it's 2020 already. Forget 2019. Just woo. I'm not going to skip this year, okay? I mean, I understand 2020 is now fully underway. But our presidential elections last entirely too long. And I have a very crazy feeling that Elizabeth Warren is going to find that out, because Donald Trump has, literally hurt her. I mean, this is a woman whose ideas are almost identical to mine, let's say. At least she's on my side of the thought process. So is Bernie. So Beto, I think, is more centrist than you might think. But this is a woman who believes in the middle class. This is a woman who understands that Americans who work very, very hard deserve, and this is the word that I would have included that she didn't, respect. There is no respect in this country for people who are wage earners. There is no respect in this country for people who aren't wealthy. There is no respect for people who live on wages. There is only respect in this country for money that makes money. Even our tax code is disrespectful to those who work for a living, and it prefers money that makes money or money that is inherited through absolutely no achievement of your own, except that you won the Lucky Sperm Club, lottery. This is the word that's missing, respect. But Elizabeth Warren is obviously in. I've been looking at what she's been doing to find out whether or not this is a serious thing. It's very, very serious, okay? This is what you do when you're running for president. You raise money, obviously, and then you direct a whole lot of your money to campaigns, other, in this case, Democratic campaigns. You raise millions of dollars, and then you redirect a good chunk of those millions to other campaigns for offices like state treasurer and state legislator. And she has been doing that more than any other 2020 rumored contender, except for maybe Michael Bloomberg. She also made 172 post-primary congratulatory phone calls to Democratic candidates. She used her own email list on behalf of those newly elected 180 times. This is what organization means. This is what it is, okay? She shared policy documents with them 63 times. She held 61 one-on-one meetings. She hosted 41 fundraisers and has created 36 videos. That is how you develop a network, and she has done that. So for those of you who don't think she's serious or, think that, this is dumb, do so at your own peril, because this woman is very, very, very smart. She is extremely prepared, and she has done all these things that I've just told you. That's grassroots networking, when you will use your own email. Like when you see in your emails, when you see, an email from, your congressperson, or, it's saying, but the job's not done, can you contribute $3? They are either doing it themselves by using someone else's email list. That's how they know that you're a friendly, okay? That's how they know that you're not going to type back F you. See, this is grassroots organizing. And then you make phone calls to Democratic candidates, and then you support them with real dollars, and then you give them your email list, or you use your email list on their behalf, and you do email blasts. You share your policy documents with those that are just newly coming in, and you make friends, and that's how you network. And she is doing that. She is absolutely doing that. Now, the problem here is that we don't know if Bernie's going to run, and we don't know if Beto's going to run, and we don't know if anybody, who anybody else is going to, But I will tell you that if we end up in a situation where Elizabeth Warren is running and Bernie Sanders is running, they will feed off of each other. Do you know what I mean? It's like they will split the vote. They will. It's the same group of people. It's me. So somebody's going to have to decide who wants to be vice president. Do you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much where we are. But they're going to, what they'll do now, okay, what they'll do, and this is really sad that it's 2019 and we don't even get to celebrate, that we have investigatory powers beginning tomorrow. Why they didn't start today? This is so congressional. This is so Congress. They could have started today. But oh no, they need to take one more day's vacation. So they'll start tomorrow. And then once they do, they've got all the chairmanships because they have the majority in the House. That means all the chairmanships. That means subpoena power. That means investigations. That means documents and subpoenas. And do you want to come in voluntarily, or do you have to drag your ass in here, a la Monica Lewinsky? Yeah. That was dirty. That was disgusting. But, yeah, so that begins tomorrow. But right now, what we have is, we have all these, members taking their last day. Got to have one more day than everybody else. But, they're going to go to New Hampshire this year. They're going to go to New Hampshire, and then they're gonna do Iowa. That's the first state. Then they'll do New Hampshire. And, somebody's going to rise to the top, and that's how it's going to go. So I just want everybody to know you don't have to start hating anybody right now. And I've already seen the hate. Oh, Elizabeth Warren's moment has passed. Oh, Elizabeth Warren, she's just like Hillary. Really? Hillary was a centrist Democrat. She was not a fascist at all. Donald Trump is. She was not progressive. She was a centrist Democrat. That's what she was. Elizabeth Warren is a progressive. Bernie Sanders is a progressive. Beto, I think, is more of a centrist. But we're going to find out who rises to the top. And you don't have to start hating your own candidates right now. And you know something? I know this. I know you. I know you so well. I know you better than you know you. And already you're having negative thoughts. I know you are. You think, oh, well, she can't, she's 69 and she's not going to be able to attract, and the young and the this and only the women, and the others are going to think she's just like this and she's just like that. And Bernie's good, but Bernie's too old. He's in his 70s already. And we need Beto, and his teeth are too big, or he's not. You don't have to go there. State by state, somebody is going to get to the top. There will be debates. The last time, I got to say, I wasn't around for the Hillary Bernie thing, for that primary portion. I was still building the studio, and I was just finishing up radiation. I was just getting healthy, and I was building the studio and blah, blah, blah. And so, but I saw what was going on, and I heard what was going on. And when I did launch the thing, it was in June. I think it was in June or July of 16, right? And people were still just so angry and so. I'm like trying to tell you guys, you fall in love during the primary, and you fall in line during the general, and that is going to happen all over again, all over again. I could tell you they're already polling. They're already polling. UMass Amherst, they got their poll for the 2020 Democratic primary in Massachusetts. Elizabeth Warren only got 11%, and they're saying this is not good. And that's because she just announced yesterday. Do you know what I'm saying? She won her election and by 24 percentage points, and they go, well, she should have won by 30. I can already see it. I can already hear it. I can already taste it, smell it. I already know. Just calm the F down and realize that this is the year that you get to listen. This is the year that you get to weigh your options. This is the year that you get to, hear the debates and see the candidates and understand their position. Are they for Medicare for all, or are they for something else? Are they just for a public option where you could buy into Medicare if you choose? Or are they for the whole enchilada? What's the transition plan? How do we pay for it? What about immigration? What about, what is their position on, a $15 minimum wage? What is their position, right? I'm telling you, starting tomorrow, you're going to start to see legislation move. And that legislation is going to have everything to do with immigration and with border security and with infrastructure. They're going to come up with a bipartisan infrastructure bill. Nancy Pelosi will. You watch. There'll be 2 bills introduced tomorrow. One will be about transparency and fundraising. The other one's going to be to stop gerrymandering. Another one is going to be about voting rights and protecting them. And another one, that'll be one bill. And then the other one is going to have to do with 21st century border security. smart fencing and drones and technology and maybe even more personnel who aren't getting paid because douchebag has a government shutdown. That affects TSA, Border Patrol, ICE, sick.
Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
All of these promises about a border wall were followed by the cheers and the chants of, and who's going to pay for that wall? And you remember all your fans would stand up and Mexico's going to pay for that wall. Who? Mexico. And here we are today getting ready to shut down the government over you asking the American taxpayer to pay for this border wall. And then some of you even used to say, are saying that we have hollow words, that our words don't mean anything. When this president is going back on the promise that he made. He said Mexico was going to pay for it. He said it at the rallies. He was in Ohio. He was in the swing states. And now he's going back on his word on that. And he just went back on his word where he promised the entire Senate he was going to support the continuing resolution. And you're calling us and saying our words are hollow? Are you kidding me? Now, look, I'm for border security. I'm for border security, but I'm not for a wall. You know what? I like cars, too. I'm for cars. I'm not for the Model T. I like planes. I don't want a glider that was designed and built by Wilbur Wright. I like my phone, but I don't want to go back and get the rotary dial out. You guys are living in the past. And this government is in chaos. It's in a free fall. The market's in a free fall. The staffing at the White House is in a free fall. The Secretary of Defense is gone. We're pulling out of Syria. What is going on? You are in charge of the House, Senate, and White House. Get a grip and learn how to govern the country.
Okay, that's Representative Tim Ryan. He is definitely going to make his mark in 2019 in the majority. There's no question about it. This guy is, he's honest. He's telling you the truth. You've had a Republican House and a Republican Senate for Donald Trump to do his bidding, okay? And they have closed the investigation into the Russia conspiracy. They whitewashed everything. They just let that slide. People lied to them. They never followed up. They didn't subpoena any documents, blah, blah, blah. And they could have gotten their freaking border wall with a Republican House and a Republican Senate if the Republicans were, as doopy and dopey as Donald Trump. But he didn't get it. And don't forget that, okay? Because now all the blame is going to shift to Nancy Pelosi. It's all going to be Nancy's doing it. Nancy Pelosi, she's the problem. Nancy is the reason why the government is shut down. Nancy is the reason why we don't have a border wall. No, it's the Republicans that would not give him a border wall. Period. End of story. Republicans who are absolutely not into infrastructure, okay? All they wanted to spend money on, the Republicans, not healthcare, not infrastructure. They can't even get the subsidies to their farmers. You know that China, do you know how many soybean orders China has placed with American soybean farmers not this year, since last year? 0. Goose egg. Zilch. Squat. Nada. Niet. Nothing. And that's why that farm bill had to get done really fast. But guess what? The government isn't being paid. So nobody can write the checks to the farmers. So they're not getting their agriculture subsidy to help pay for the fact that Donald Trump literally tanked the entire soybean market. Literally did it. Here's the article, okay? China, and it was in the Wall Street Journal, okay? China imports 0 U.S. soybeans the entire month of November for the first time since the trade war started. China has turned to Brazil for soybeans to replace U.S. cargoes. 5 million tons, metric tons of soybeans from Brazil replacing our soybeans. That's $12 billion lost. And that is why they had to get that ag bill out. But I got news for you. They can't get their bailout money because there's nobody at home to write the checks. These are the people who voted for him. This is the Midwest. These are the hinterlands. These are the flyover. You know, when you fly over and you're looking down at all those crops, you know what you're looking at? Freaking soybeans. China put a 25% tariff on U.S. imports in retaliation for Donald Trump's trade war to the tariffs that were enacted here on Chinese goods. And the hinterland, they knew, they're so smart. They knew just who to hurt. Now they want Taiwan, but that's another story. And there's no one to write the freaking checks. It's unfreaking believable. You got trash piling up in the Capitol, in the U.S. Capitol. You got dirty toilets in all the national parks. And you know why trash and dirty toilets matter? Wildlife. They eat the trash. And the dirty toilets are unhealthy. There is nobody working inventory management for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. FEMA is shut down. Some of them are still working, but they're not getting paid. TSA. He's so worried about terrorists. You know how they come here? Not through the southern border. They come here on airplanes. And that's what TSA is there for. And TSA, who are working without pay, are worried about their mortgage and their son's orthodonture. This is so sick. I'm telling you, and the last time we had a shutdown that was a long one, it was 95, Newt Gingrich with a stupid contract on America. And they shut down the government. And what happened? Well, the people at the Pentagon had to, volunteer to staff the White House. So Monica Lewinsky went from the Pentagon into the White House. And the rest is all of the 90s. All history. But you've got the Office of Personnel Management taking the ominous step of putting up a document telling people who are going broke, literally, because they're paycheck to paycheck, federal worker, that they should call their personal attorneys and that they should, tell their personal attorney to write a letter to their landlord or to their ex-wife, when they can't pay the child support, saying, hey, listen, I can't make the child support payment or I can't pay the mortgage. And they're saying, and if you live in an apartment building, perhaps you should volunteer your time instead of money to your landlord. Perhaps you could paint the exterior of the apartment building, or perhaps you could do some plumbing on the side for the landlord, or perhaps you could clean toilets for the landlord. Oh my God. And what is this about? This is about a 3rd century freaking border security plan that makes no sense to anybody except for Donald Trump. It makes no sense to anybody. This man is now saying a wall or whatever you want to call it, a wall. I mean, I don't care what it is. It could be a fence. And honest, he talked about a big concrete wall. And it could be 90 feet. It could be 60 feet. But it's going to be concrete plank. It's going to be concrete, a big, beautiful wall.
First of all, let's not all acquiesce to the ridiculous soundbite that this is about a wall. They're trying to make a wall, 4-letter word, when the president's been talking about border security all along.
Oh, my God.
The wall has become a metaphor for border security. And what we're talking about is a physical barrier where it makes sense.
Oh.
I'm going to try not to acquiesce to quick sound bites. However, the president has made it clear, with his own words, over and over again, during his campaign, he wasn't talking about the idea of a wall. He was talking about an actual wall.
I will build a great, great wall. This is a very serious wall. They say, you don't really mean you're going to build a wall, do you? You're kidding, right? You know, I built 90-story buildings. 92 stories, 98 stories.
No.
Walls are so easy. Building buildings is tough. Building a wall, boy, is that easy. That'll go up like magic. It'll go up like magic.
What are the walls going to be made out of?
I'll tell you what it's going to be made of. It's going to be made of hardened concrete. Did you ever see precast plank for parking garages? It's concrete plank. It's precast. Concrete plank. You have to be kidding. I can just see it now. Beautiful precast plank, all beautiful. Plank that's laid like for highways. It comes 30 feet long, 40 feet long, 50 feet long, 90 feet long. You know how long 90 feet? If you're 90 feet up, you don't want to come down. You want to come down very gently. It's so easy. Oh, I can just see that beautiful precast plank. And you put that plank up and you dig your footings. Boom. Good solid foundations. Precast. Pew. Sucked right into a foundation. Beautiful. Boom. Boom. It's easy. Precast plank, being, boom. Precast, boom, being, done.
Boom, bing, bang, boom, bum, boom, boom, bing, bing, bing. He watches Goodfellas more than I do. That is sick. Okay, but he wasn't talking about a fence. And he's not talking about border security. And he's not talking about technology. And he's not talking about personnel. Oh, no. He's talking about bing, bam, boom, boom, boom. A wall, concrete wall. And then they sit there and they tell you, oh, you know, it was a metaphor. It was just a metaphor. It was a term of art. Of course he meant border security. Of course he didn't mean a bing, bang, bing, bing, bong, boom, bam. Concrete wall. He didn't mean concrete plank. He didn't mean like a highway. They are liars, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Let's return to Tim Ryan, the congressman who gave that, impassioned, floor speech the other day. Because he's one to watch in 2019.
We're dealing with someone who is dishonest. I think, as Mika articulated earlier, you could make a deal in a room with a handshake, and by the time he's out of the room, the deal's over. He's in front of the camera. And let's just put this all in perspective. The main problem here is he's worried about the investigation that's breathing down his neck right now.
That's
so his
right.
only goal is to appeal to Ann Coulter, Laura Ingraham, and Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
We saw the flip-flop a week or two ago when they didn't like the deal he was going to make, and he changed immediately. He feels like he has to protect that base because he fears what's coming down the pike in the investigation. And as long as that's the case, you have the tail wagging the dog, and we are going to get government from Rush Limbaugh's studio in South Florida.
Yep. And the reason why, just so you're clear, is because impeachment is a political undertaking. Impeachment happens in the House of Representatives, which we will control. And there will be plenty of reasons, plural, and it won't be about an affair with an intern to impeach Donald Trump. It's inevitable that once the information comes about who was talking to WikiLeaks and who was supplying Donald Trump with talking points and why, Roger Stone knew Podesta was next and why Jerome Corsi lied and Alex Jones and using Breitbart and Cambridge Analytica and the Mercers and the whole gigantic enchilada of absolute foreign interference and corruption in that election. Once that all comes to light, there will be no one left in this country that wants him to be president except for the 3 million people who listen to Fox News. And Donald Trump needs those 3 million to not waver, to not flinch. That is why Rudy Giuliani is on the TV lying. That is why Kellyanne Conway is on the TV lying. That is why Donald Trump is on the TV lying. They are lying to the base to keep the base as their base. And you know what Al-Qaeda means in Arabic, don't you? The Qaeda. Base. The base. And they are keeping their American terrorists under their spell to cause a little bit of problems for the rest of us who will understand without a shadow of a doubt that this man cannot stay. That this man can never hold any position of honor or trust, not even on a charity's board, which the court in New York has already, I mean, you got a new attorney general in New York State. The kids are all right there, you know, in the crosshairs. I mean, he's going to make a deal somehow to spare the kids, because I don't think he realizes that he can't pardon state crimes. That is the importance of this New York investigation into the Trump Foundation.
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I think we need to push a real robust economic agenda that will appeal to everybody in the country. I mean, you talk about infrastructure. Yes. We have people losing their pensions. We still have people who can't retire properly. The American people, most of them, are barely keeping their nose above water. And so even if we can't pass things, Eddie, I think we need to push an agenda that lets these working class people, as I've said a million times, white, black, brown, gay, straight, man, woman, working class people work hard, play by the rules, that the Democratic Party is their party, and that the Trump Party and the Republican Party aren't working for them. And I don't know, I think we are going to be in the business of just trying to keep the government working. But if we can come to an agreement on infrastructure, a couple key things, let's try to do that. But again, we turn around and the Republicans say, well, we don't have any money. Well, they just gave a $2.3 trillion tax cut that went primarily to the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the people in the country. So it's very difficult now. But the most important thing is for us really to reconnect the working class people and let them know they need to be voting for and supporting Democrats.
Yeah, absolutely. And here you have, the Office of Management and Budget sending out emails, call your personal attorney, and maybe you could defer your rent payments and barter with your landlord by offering to do, repair work like painting or cleaning or plumbing or toilet this is unbelievable. If the Democrats don't start using the word respect, I'm going to have to run for something, because the idea that, people who work for a living get no respect in this country, zero respect for their hard work. We're taxed more heavily than people who inherit money, who go zero on you can inherit $22 million. You did absolutely nothing to distinguish yourself in your entire life. And you get to take all this money tax-free. And meanwhile, I'm closing out the new year. I did close out the year. And I'm doing my taxes for, and I'm like sitting here going, oh my God, I owe all oh my God. And, if I had a pass-through company like Donald Trump, nothing. I wouldn't have to do. Or if I inherited, zero. This is ridiculous. Stress and worry. That's what's driving this crazy environment that we live in. That's what's driving people to hate. That's what's driving people to say, we don't want you. We don't want you. We don't want you. Why? Because there's no respect for me. And until I get respect, I'm not willing to look at you. That's what's going on here. You got the Coast Guard not getting paid. I mean, this is ridiculous. Oh my God! Did you see this? It's a real challenge for us that Carrie Thomas, a retired Rear Admiral and the chief executive of a nonprofit that is the official relief society of the Coast Guard. Why do we have veterans needing relief societies? It's about $150 million each pay period to pay the active duty and civilian employees at the Coast Guard, and our nonprofit does not have $150 million, as you can imagine. She said she'd been on the phone on Friday morning with a senior member of the Coast Guard who is not eligible for the aid and was in tears, worrying about whether he would be able to pay his rent on January 5th. Anxieties are the highest for the 800,000 federal workers furloughed or forced to work without pay. But fear is spreading far beyond the federal workforce, hitting government contractors, local governments, forced to cover for the furloughed sanitation and maintenance workers and organizations that feed the poor who are dealing with a possible interruption to sources of funding and provisions. So far, we've been able to say the sky isn't falling yet, said Joel Berg, chief executive of Hunger Free America, a national advocacy group for nonprofits that manage federal food programs for the poor. He said, but give it another week or two. Food stamps likely will be fine unless the president's executive order saying you must work to get food stamps actually takes hold. But other programs, like the program for poor women with infants, women, infants, and children, WIC, women, infants, and children. That's what WIC stands for. That provides aids to the state, and they're seeing supply chain interruptions now. The Department of Agriculture's Emergency Food Assistant Program, what do? Well, they send surplus agricultural products to food banks. And that feeds our low-income seniors, and they're not getting their deliveries. They said that they could probably go for the month of January, but if it goes into February, we don't know. All for the stupid 3rd century Ming Dynasty concrete freaking wall that is now supposedly a metaphor. Well, that metaphor is killing us. Christopher in New York.
Hey, Randy. By the way, thank you so much. You tweeted back to me of my mom who passed away, Patricia, in early December. I'm out of Rochester. I just want to thank you for that.
Sure.
Also, people need to know, just as a heads up, the IRS, while trying to open the 2019 year, will not be getting paid. And the following services, this is from the service, will not be offered. IRS help desk, non-operational. Paper returns will not be processed. No auditing. Of course, Donald Trump will like that. And no issuing of tax refunds.
I just wrote the word refund as you, yeah. No refunds. Sorry, everybody. Just so sorry. I mean, screw you and, whatever.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. Just.
It's insane.
Listen, and he's doing all of this for the stupid metaphor to the base. This is all about his Al-Qaeda. This is all about keeping them under his thumb, keeping them, following the cult leader, because he knows what's coming down the pike. He knows he's not going to make it through 2019. He knows that. He's certainly not electable in 2020. That's a gimme. So, when you see Mitt Romney starting the new year with an op-ed against Donald Trump, Mitt Romney's running. He is. Right. That's exactly what's going on. And let them...
Him and his binders.
Yes, him and his binders of women, and him with his, screw the 47%. Good luck to you. that was filmed by a bartender in Boca. We do all the best things here. But I'm serious. But you wait. They're going to primary this guy, and they're going to do it early. Now, Donald Trump's going to have I'm sure he has an exit strategy where he's going to make a deal. He's going to say, you don't prosecute my kids, you leave the Trump organization alone, and Mike Pence pardons me. And that's how I'll leave, okay?
Yeah.
And that's...
just, January 20th is when the actual IRS filing season begins, and now they're telling us they may not make it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you
just
won't be able to file your actual electronic returns because the people that are designing and testing their software are not being paid. And have you ever met a grumpy software developer, whether they work for the government or
I was just going to say, do you really want a pissed off IRS worker? Do you really want that? I would say no. Just an opinion.
Happy New Year, and thank God you're on the,
Thank
do
you.
what you do. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chris. Wayne in Eugene, Oregon.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I have an idea of why Trump is insisting on a wall, a big concrete wall. That's because you cannot paint 50-foot block letters that spell Trump on a chain link fence. I think he wants every 100 yards.
Listen, I got news for you.
Trump.
He doesn't even want a stinking wall. What he wants is to keep the base, the Al-Qaeda's in this country, the American terrorists, the Timothy McVeigh types, okay, the Randy Weavers. This is what who he's appealing to. And he needs at least, 3 to 5 million of them to stay with him so he can, execute his exit strategy. That's what he's doing. There is not going to be a stinking wall. You want...
Yeah, I know.
Right. It's never, ever, ever going to happen because technology has moved beyond that. And everybody who will think about it or reads about it knows about it. There is no reason to build a structure. Most of the people in El Paso and the border communities, they don't want a stinking wall on their property. Yeah. They don't want it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to see it. Besides for that, it's immoral. And besides for that, there are better ways, and it's stupid.
He's using it as a metaphor to his base for racism.
Yes, exactly. This is why he opened the campaign with Mexicans are rapists. The American dream is dead. Does everybody remember that day? That's what put this man on the map. Racism.
And the wall has become a symbol of that.
That's right. The wall is where they put all their racist energy. And as long as he is sufficiently racist, he will have 3 to 5 million Americans going down that bad, dark road with him.
Yep.
But he's just...
Well, thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. He's just using them. He's using them. And that's why he reacts to Ann Coulter and Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity. That's why. Because those people are the neck. Okay? And they can turn the head of these cult members any way they want to. They are the neck. And these people are completely rudderless, directionless, without being told who to hate and when and how much and where and how. So that's what they do. And they've got giant media. They have Rush is still, I don't even think he's getting paid anymore. He just sits there so he doesn't lose his clout in Palm Beach. I don't think Rush gets paid. Clear Channel is, they're in bankruptcy. Funny how I leave a company and then they go bankrupt. Air America left, bankrupt. Okay. Clear Channel left, bankrupt. It's a joke. But Rush, I don't think is getting paid. I think he's doing a barter thing where they give him advertising, a piece of the advertising dollars. That's why it's important that you, don't participate in any of his, sponsors' business. Because once that becomes not a good deal, they'll stop and he'll. But the only reason why he sits there on the air, and the only reason why they keep on, sitting there denying reality, which is what conservatives. It's such a racket that they literally have to deny reality. And the only reason why they keep doing it is to keep that base politically engaged through racism, so that Trump can have an exit strategy. After he's stolen all your money and given it to himself, his family, use the Justice Department to clear him of all the freaking crimes this man is guilty of. If he didn't run for president, he would have gotten away with it. And now that he's president, he's thinking, well, I'm president, I can get away with it. I'll get a complete and total pardon from Mike Pence. I'm not even sure if Mike Pence still has vocal cords. He doesn't even speak. He lets this man just use and abuse him. Ginger in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I'm in California.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Hey, love you long time.
Love you more.
I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The only slight disagreement that I have is I don't think he cares about the kids. I think this is all about him. Look at the Christmas picture. No Barron, no Ivanka, no Beavis and Butthead. Nobody. It's just him and reluctantly Melania. You know, Barron hasn't been seen anywhere since the eclipse, which was over a year and a half ago. He doesn't care about the kids. I've heard that come up a few times. He doesn't care about anybody but himself.
Well, we're going to find out if he does or not. We're going to actually find out because those kids are going to get indicted. Those kids are in trouble. Those kids, all of them, even his little son-in-law, they're all in trouble. Junior's in trouble for the Trump Tower meeting. Eric's in trouble for the Trump Foundation. Ivanka's in trouble for the Trump Foundation. They're all in trouble. Everyone. And Weisselberg, you know, he's got all the paperwork. He's got all the books. And he did not even know that he was on the Trump Foundation board. He's not going to jail for this effed up family. Not him.
No, I think Trump will throw the kids overboard.
Well, we'll see. This is the thing. You know, we're not going to even have to guess anymore. We're going to find out if he's as amoral and empty a vessel, empty a barrel as we think he is.
I think he is absolutely amoral. I don't think that he cares one iota that he's related to those kids or not.
I don't know. I think he still has fantasies about him and Ivanka getting together one of these days, you know?
Yeah, I know. That's creepy and grosses me out.
But maybe he likes the fantasy of her in, you know, a minimum security prison and a, you know, maybe he likes women in prison movies. I don't know.
Could be.
Could be. Could definitely be. But we're going to find out this year. This is the beauty of 2019. This is why I could not wait for it to be 2019. Now, tomorrow is the day that we've all been waiting for. Tomorrow is the first day of the Democratic House. And tomorrow you're going to see two bills drop. Two really good ones. One is going to be diminishing the influence of the wealthy and the connected, expanding voting rights, and lowering prescription drug costs, passing a bipartisan infrastructure bill. And the other one is going to be to reopen the government. And a wall will not be part of it. And the president's going to say no. And, you know, it's so much for blaming Nancy Pelosi. But I'm telling you, the Democrats are responsible when it comes to governing. And this scandal-ridden administration is about to blow completely up. And we're going to find out what Trump's exit strategy is, because I think everybody understands he is not reelectable. There just isn't the desire for him to be reelected. This is why the House has to do stuff for us. They have to do stuff for healthcare. They have to do stuff on infrastructure. They have to put us in the catbird seat and feeling really good. And not just go after him, even though he is as corrupt as a I mean, he's not even a broken clock. He's not even right twice a day. He's never right. So it'll be exciting. Buy a stinking podcast.